My talk today is about innovation, and what I would like to do is share with you the challenges, some of the implications, and what the university might be able to do to make a difference. Now, in case you think this is an old topic, if you picked up your Globe and Mail on the weekend, the front page is in fact all about the same topic that I'm going to be talking about. So let me begin. First part, I want to be able to make the point that is also in the Globe and Mail is that in Canada, with regard to the way the federal government supports industry, it is one of the most lucrative ways of any country, in fact the world, of supporting industry. The problem, however, goes further than that. So let me put on a graph that came out of the Jenkins report, and what this graph is trying to demonstrate is what is the spending of companies with regard to research and development. So let me do the graph and then try to share with you the implication. So this graph comes directly from the Jenkins report just released. Interestingly enough, this graph in a different form is also on page 6 and 7 of the Globe and Mail, so obviously it has some importance. The first is, that is the spending power of the United States companies in research and development over that period of time. If you then chart the next graph, it is of the OECD countries, again on research and development. So the question you can ask is, so where does Canada stand in this? And that's the picture where Canada spends. Now, what's very interesting is the following, and that is that although there's a difference, that difference has been increasing in the last many years. So you would ask yourself, so what are the implications of that graph as it pertains to the standard of living? So let me give you two quotes that come from the same report. The first one is pretty clear that Canada has an innovation problem. But the second one is a very, very important one for all of us to reflect upon. What it really says at the end of the day is that if we don't improve our performance, then the standard of living of your children, your grandchildren, is never going to be the same as our standard of living. And therefore, we do have a problem. So what is the relationship of R&D spending to standard of living? So I'm going to try to explain that to you, and then I'm going to take a look at it through my lens, but then go on to where I think there might be a solution, or at least a partial solution. So let me now take a look at the situation in other countries. Remember that graph? Well, if you look at India, you look at China, you look at the UK, you look at Russia, and even the United States, under which we all seem to want to copy or catch in the innovation race, every one of those countries are saying that innovation is also their challenge. So if you are now behind in the innovation race, and those countries are going to start speeding up, where are you going to be in 20 or 30 years? Or to put it differently, just to stay behind, you have to do more, let alone what you have to do to catch up. So everyone says, uh-oh, problem, slide deck, wrong. What has Jurassic Park got in the world to do with what I'm going to tell you? So I have to tell you a story at Jurassic Park. I used to be the president of Sheridan College in Oakville, and Sheridan in those days had a phenomenal reputation in animation, and probably does today. Well, one of the great animators at Sheridan was a gentleman named Steve Williams. He was also named Spaz. And to give you an idea how important he was, if you ever saw The Mask, he was nominated for the Academy Award for The Mask. He lost to Forrest Gump. I don't think he should have. But he also did Terminator, but he also did Jurassic Park, and he also did Star Wars. So as I do, I said to Steve, can I come down to visit you at Industrial Light and Magic? And Steve said, oh, by all means, come on down to Industrial Light and Magic. Industrial Light and Magic, by the way, is also Lucas Studios. It's in George Lucas and the famous farm and everything else that is associated with it. So I went down to Industrial Light and Magic, and I found Steve and 49 other Sheridan alumni. All of Industrial Light and Magic was 100 people. 50 of them were Canadians from one small college in Ottawa, in Oakville. In any event, here was all the talent going down to California. And what did Canada get in return for all of that talent? Well, we got the privilege of renting Jurassic Park. We could also buy Jurassic Park action figures. The video games that were created by the same group, we could purchase and rent. And if we wanted to, we could eat triple hamburgers at Hollywood Studio. But the point of it is a serious issue, that the innovation, which was taking an industry that was analog or claymation or picture drawing to a new area of digital, that innovation was done not in Canada, but in the United States. And what is that link to the graph? Let me just share that with you. When you have Canadian talent, and you add to it that they're working outside of our country, and that you add to it that it's making or fueling the innovation of another country, it is also obviously making that country wealthy. And that graph has a huge implication, because if Canada is not the one investing in research and development, then the talent of our country that want to be the innovators are going to follow where those investments are. Or to put it another way, the only thing that prevented us from leading the animation industry and having Jurassic Park, The Mask, etc., start in Canada was the ability for us to see the opportunity and to innovate. So the moral from that story is that a country can be a renter or an owner, and that if you become a chronic renter, then you, with the most talented people being the innovators, then your country is going to fall further and further behind. So let me go to this trophy on the stage. You're probably wondering what this prop is about. And now this goes to the story of what can Canada do, or what can universities do. So there's a story behind this picture, this trophy. The story is very simple. Two young engineers at that time, 19 and 21, Michael Priwata and Tiago Carries. And by the way, I could tell this story of many Ryerson students. This one just has the best visual effect, not to mention how talented they are. But they came to see me. They were proud that they won this championship of engineering design students, and they wanted to give me the trophy. I said to them, "What are you doing?" They described it to me, and I said, "Wouldn't you like to take it further than a science project and maybe commercialize it?" Let me give you a sense of what's happening in the zone. It keeps on changing, and I'll try to link it back to what can universities do. We opened up this place for creative ideas of students that were innovators. Very quickly, we saw alumni coming. Very quickly, we said, why open it up only to a Ryerson library card? If you're a bright student from anywhere, why not invite you? And not a big surprise, very soon companies started to come. And very soon we have doubled and now tripling the size of it. There is a lot of innovation going on. In a very short time, 34 companies have started, 320 full-time jobs were created. So what is the way that universities can take a role in helping the innovation agenda? It is this. When Steve Williams went down to United States with his colleagues and started Jurassic Park, etc., is there a way that we could create the companies ourselves in Canada, obviously hoping that the larger companies will invest in R&D and take on that challenge? But why is it that we can't create more high-tech companies like the 34 here and begin the technology here, whether it's in the example of the ARM or many, many of the other technologies that you see in the zone today. So let me give you the conclusion of how all of this fits together. Back in 1981, hard to believe, there were 65,000 companies that you could say were the mom and pop shops. They were companies that were only 2 employees or 3 employees that were the backbone of part of our economy. In 2011, the number of companies that have increased to 500,000. What's interesting about that is the gender and diversity of those countries has changed dramatically. But what's also interesting is the level of education these companies, the owners of these companies, have also changed dramatically. And what's very, very interesting is that these companies want to grow. So could you imagine where we could be in 2041? Imagine that all universities created the opportunity for entrepreneurship and innovation of their students, and that the Michael and Tiago and all of his own students became owners of their companies that grew. And part of that was fueling the innovation because they are doing the research. This is not to suggest that the present companies haven't got a role to play, but it also suggests that the strength of what we're doing is going to be depend upon entrepreneurship. So the zone is a very concrete example of us at the university making way for the most talented students with innovation in mind to be able to support our economy and to be able to create the jobs and the businesses right here in Canada. But all of this, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, go down to the same thing I always say. And I think ultimately this is our challenge. For my colleagues at Ryerson, they'll say, boy, I've seen this one before, but it's so true. This isn't a statement of innovation in 2012. It is a statement going back to the early part of the century, and it came from someone in Chicago. And in my words, what it says is this: small ideas don't get done because no one's interested in anyone with a small idea. The ideas that really become successful are those that boil the blood, that create the energy and the excitement. And what I think Canada needs is more young people boiling our blood, making us nervous, stretching us, and giving us the type of hope that our country so deserves and will have, because I'm absolutely confident that they, the younger generation, will lead us into the success of this century and beyond. So thank you very, very much.